Hey there, thanks for watching. My name is Christiana and my channel is Well Behaved Wallet, where I talk about mindset, motivation, and making or saving money. Why do I talk about money so much? Well, aside from my channel name, which is Well Behaved Wallet, the reason I talk about money is because I think that money's a really good indicator of your views on life and sort of the outcomes you've been able to achieve thus far. And also, if you're able to control your money, chances are you're able to use that same discipline in other areas of your life. So that's really what it comes down to. I'm not super obsessed about money. It's something that I really enjoy thinking about, talking about, and that I think is really important. But I wouldn't call it an obsession. I would call it kind of a hobby at this point. So that's why I talk about money so much. That, however, is not necessarily the main point of this video. So this is just kind of a warning ahead. This is going to be kind of a long one. I'm going to kind of give you the full scope of the situation at present, kind of give you updates on what's going on. And where we are and kind of how I got to this point, and what I'm hoping will happen going forward. So, going back to the beginning of time, and I've mentioned some of this before as well. You've heard parts of the story in other parts of my on my channel, and I've mentioned this, but it's something that kind of is, again, part of my story and is an era in my life. So after I graduated college, I went right into working. I lied, I did not. I went to grad school for a semester and a half. The reason I only went for a semester and a half is because when I applied, I went to NYU for playwriting and literary criticism. The reason I went specifically to NYU was because I wanted to study with a specific professor, and I knew that she taught there, and I was really excited to learn under her. I was really into like post-colonial theory, Derrida, and the whole fundamentalism, but that's not the word I was looking for. Existentialism either, but I wanted to learn under this one particular professor, and it turns out the year that I applied, and they don't tell you this because otherwise you wouldn't apply, the year that I applied and was accepted was the year that she was going to be on sabbatical for 2 full years. So if it was a 4-semester program, she would be gone for the full time I was there. So I was super disappointed that I wouldn't get to study under her. But I went for the full first semester, and I just came to looking at the second semester, and I'm like, this is not going to be a good use of my time or my money. When I leave, I would not be any more qualified than when I started, and I kind of recognized even then that I should probably just move on with my life. So that's what I did. And I got a job in publishing. And actually how I got that job was kind of old-fashioned. I just went knocking on doors. There was a publishing company, Pearson Education, right by us, by where I lived, and I literally dropped my resume off at the front desk and was like, hey, I've got a degree in English literature, I'd love to work here. And they're like, all right, yeah. So what they actually ended up doing, like obviously they tell you to apply online, but I think what they did at that time was they probably gave it to their HR department, who passed it on to their temp department, the temp agency that they worked with, which at that time, I still remember, it was called Leaf Stone. And about 2 weeks later, I got a call from them saying, we'd love you to come in for this job, to interview as a temp to work with this company. We hear it's right by you. And I'm like, awesome. So I went in and I started as a temp at Pearson. And then there was a permanent position that opened up, and I took it. And interestingly, this position as an editorial assistant, this position was not one that I would have, in a department that I would have liked. I wanted something in literature, like psychology or English literature. I would have loved that. The department that had an opening for an editorial assistant was the computer science department. I'm like, I don't know anything about computer science. I don't like math. I don't like computers. But that actually ended up being one of the most amazing backgrounds, foundations ever, because having that computer science and being able to speak that language a little bit, and to know, for example, that Intro to Java programming is the foundation for something like Java data structures. We did a lot of, there was a C++ book, which is kind of like an old workhorse language. We actually did Intro to Python, programming with Python, and an Intro to Alice programming, which was actually a project helmed by 3 professors, Stephen something, Wanda Dan, and, if you know the name, Randy Pausch from Carnegie Mellon. Randy Pausch of the last lecture, Randy Pausch. So that was really interesting working with him. since passed on, but really left some amazing gifts to the community in his last lecture. So that was what I did for 2.5 years, and it was a full-time kind of 38-hour-a-week company. It was voted best company to work for working moms, and had I been a working mom at that time, it would have been perfect. I was not. I was a 20-something-year-old kid from suburban northeastern New Jersey that had never really experienced anything. So I knew something was wrong, but I didn't, or something there was some kind of discontent. I wasn't sure what it was, but I knew that there was something that I wanted to do with my life before just calling it quits and kind of retiring into that type of position. So what I ended up doing was I actually left that job without having anything else to go to. I had applied for other jobs, but again, at that point, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I just knew that it wasn't this. Which is completely ill-advised to say, I'm leaving this job for I don't know what. So at the time I said that I was going back to school, which is kind of your catch-all excuse for I'm just really not happy here. Scratch that. I think being happy is really overrated, but saying I'm miserable here, I wasn't terrible, it just wasn't what I wanted to do. So I left with this idea that I'd go back to a pre-med program, a post-bac pre-med program, which was completely, again, ill-advised. But I thought, let me give this a shot. So I tried it for a semester, was not the direction to go. But that left me kind of not high and dry, but out without kind of having a direction to my life. I also, at that time, I was taking courses to be an EMT, and that I really enjoyed, and I'm actually a certified EMT, fun fact about me, and did really well in that type of a program. I was actually voted out of a class of 30 individuals. I was voted incident commander in their final sort of evaluation, which was a fun role, where you kind of basically, there's a huge, it's a mock scenario where they pretend they role play that there's this huge disaster, and you have to kind of triage and set up mobile stations, and they're like, the first thing you're going to need is a notebook, and I'm like, I have that. So that was a fun experience. But all this to say that I didn't really have a goal in mind. So this is about May. By October, I had friends that had kind of mentioned the idea of going abroad, and I always thought that was for slackers. I didn't want to do that. I knew that wasn't what I wanted to do. But kind of from May to October, the people that I talked to, the professors, from the old professors that I'd come in contact with, because I was still playing with the college orchestra, and that was a huge influence in my life at the time. So that kind of led me to warm up to the idea of teaching abroad. And by October, I was like, I think this could be a good opportunity for me. So I started researching schools, and I knew that Korea kind of paid the most, had the best financial compensation package. It was great. The compensation was fair. The housing was fully paid. They paid for your airfare to and from. They have excellent health insurance. They have even a retirement plan that you get to cash out when you leave. So I knew it was going to kind of financially be a good deal. So I started looking at opportunities to teach. So I was exploring different schools, and I'd have to ask for references because you're signing basically a year of your life away and to a foreign country, to someone in a foreign country. And despite my dad being from there, I don't speak the language, and I knew that I was going to be on my own. So I really did my due diligence in terms of researching a contract in a school. So all of that, and I had a lot of ups and downs, like a ton of ups and downs. And in fact, my dad did not want me to do that. He thought, as I did at the time, that it was for losers and junkies and kids that couldn't find a job in America, so they had to go abroad. I'm like, I understand that, but I really felt this was something I needed to do. Turns out I was right. So from October until March of the following year is how long it took me. Now, to put this in perspective, there were some jobs where you could find a contract, sign it, and be on a plane at the end of the week. So I thought that was how quick it was going to be, and it was not. It took from October until March. So how many months is that? 6 months? 6 months to get that contract signed. It ended up being one of the best decisions I ever made. So I was over there for 2.5 years, from March to March, and then I signed for another year, and then I did another 6 months. Great experience. So at the time, my mom was living in this house that I'm living in now, and she was kind of like my person on the ground. If I needed anything medical or financial or from home, she was a person that kind of got things done for me at home. And I was like, oh, I was letting her know that I really appreciated her, and she's like, you do this for me someday. Someday I'm going to go abroad, and I think you should do this for me. And I was like, anytime, you just let me know. That time is now. because in a couple days' time, my mother is actually leaving for Israel to go live and work in Israel, right outside Tel Aviv, in a guest house, not a kibbutz, a guest house. And she will be there for 6 months. And this is my opportunity to be her person on the ground at home and hold down the fort for her while she goes and lives her dreams. So to kind of give some history to my mother, she is Swedish and Czech from Midwestern Michigan. And she grew up Baptist, very Protestant. However, she has always felt that in some part of her heart, she's always felt an affinity for the Jewish people, the Jewish religion, the Jewish culture. To the point where she was at a wedding dancing once when she was 3. And like a little kid dancing, and this is like a story that's passed down from like family. So, because her dad used to take pictures for weddings. I think she was at one of these weddings, and she was dancing like a little cute little girl, and like one of the boys came up to her, one of the little boys, and was like, "Will you marry me?" And she said at 3, with no Jewish blood in her, raised as a Baptist, she said to this little boy, "No, I can't marry you, I'm Jewish." And her parents are like, "What are you doing? No, you're not. Like, you're a Baptist." She's like, "No, I'm Jewish." She was 3 at the time. She was 3. So I say that to say that this has been something that my mother has wanted to do all her life. She has wanted to live in Israel. So, and she loves travel. Like, my mother is a world traveler. And she has always loved to travel, but we're very modest middle class, like middle class people, with not necessarily the resources to travel. So how she'd do it is she'd like chaperone trips, or she'd go with students, or she'd go as an unpaid class intern or class assistant at the college that she went to. So in February, when her position at that college was eliminated, it was disappointing. It was financially a little bit rocky. She viewed that as her kind of push to go, which it actually totally was. So she started putting the paperwork in progress. She'd already been talking with this guest house. So she's been to Israel 5 times, again, just to kind of give you the history. She went twice by herself. She took my sister and I in 2005. It was kind of a bet, because I bet her that I wouldn't get into grad school, and she said, "Well, if you do get into grad school, then I want to take you guys to Israel." I got into grad school, so my sister and I went to Israel. It was actually an amazing trip. We went over New Year's, Christmas. So we left the 26th, and we were there, I think, through the 4th or the 5th. Maybe longer. I think it was 2 weeks. But we spent New Year's in a Bedouin camp. It was really, really amazing. There were like kids playing by the fire, and then they were like singing songs and telling stories. It was really amazing. Really great place to spend New Year's. So when her position was eliminated in February, she got in contact with this guest house and interviewed with them and put together an application package and applied. And the thing is, she had applied for this particular house. She kind of known that was something she wanted to do. She put in her application. Understand, my mother is 65 years old. Usually for this type of work, it's fairly labor intensive. She's going to be standing, doing meal prep, cooking, some light cleaning, but not really. They have a housekeeping staff for that, but she's going to be like interacting with the guests. So it's pretty like, you got to be on your feet, you got to be moving around. And my mother's fantastically fit, but she's also 65. So she put in her application. Her birthday's in November. She put her application in the day before she turned 65 so that she could say she was 64, because they have age like considerations. But after talking to her, they immediately knew that she has enough energy for 10, 20 year, like she's 20-year-olds. She's got the energy of a teenager, and she loves Israel, so she's gonna love it there. And my prediction is that she's going to just come alive there even more than she already is, because this is something she's wanted to do forever. So she leaves at the beginning of next week. I tried to spend time with her. This is what we live together, but despite living together, we're both super busy. Like, she leaves the house at like 5 in the morning. I leave the house at 7. Both of us don't usually get back until like 8 or 9. She usually gets back after me. Who am I kidding? But I've been trying to spend more time with her. That's actually why we took the vacation to Virginia as a family, to meet my sister, because it's the last time we're going to see each other for a while. So she's going to be there for 6 full months. So she leaves in July. She'll come back around February. So she'll spend Christmas and New Year's over there. And it's an exciting time for her. I'm really excited for her. There are a few... Financially, it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble, and no financial advisor in the world would tell her to do this. So that initially made me a little concerned because, again, it's not super the best idea. However, I am supporting her 150% because I think it's great that she has this opportunity to travel while she's young and vibrant and can. So I'm really excited for this opportunity again for her. It will be, people are like, oh, how are you feeling about your mom going? And I'm like, actually kind of excited. Like, so I'm kind of excited to have the house to myself. But on the other end, like, I'm going to have the house to myself. So I'm going to have to be doing all that stuff for house maintenance. And I lived alone when I was abroad. I lived alone. I mean, she travels, so I'm alone when she travels. So I'm excited to have this space. Obviously there are tons of financial concerns and nobody needs to really lay those out. Or if you want me to lay those out, I could go into depth on those, how to travel on a shoestring. I could do that too, and not a ton of preparation. But she is doing this fabulous thing that is right for her right now, and I'm happy to support her. So that's kind of where a lot of my energy, because she's really been doing all of like the bulk of the work. I've just kind of been like chilling out with her. So that's kind of my role right now. So all that to say, things may be shifting around. I will have a bit more space in the house, although there are a lot of things that I want to get done. I mean, we don't really take up that much space. There are things I'd love to do. I'd love to eventually, and the eventual plan going forward is, wouldn't it be nice if we could sell this and buy something in cash? No idea that's going to happen. This is a hugely expensive area, and we're not alone in that kind of like what comes next phase of life. So for the moment, most of the bills are paid. The big bills are paid. The little ones are kind of like chilling. And for the moment, this is what we're doing. And it, again, isn't not the most financially savvy thing to do, but it is the most life affirming thing to do. So I'm super excited for her, and I'm excited to see what the 6 months brings for me and my kind of having the space to myself. I'm like, as long as the house doesn't burn down or get broken into, or, you know, that's my thing. Like, keep the house standing like that, or flooded, or, you know, just keep it standing. That's my primary goal. Anything else I do above and beyond that, I have these wild dreams. I'm like, no, keep it simple. So we'll see how that progresses. And I'm excited to see that and to document that and hopefully to share some of that with you. So thank you again so much for watching. If you've watched this far, I would love to hear your sort of hopes and dreams for your own life, like what you have. Like, leave me a few notes on where, because some of you've shared a little bit about your story, and it's so encouraging. So thank you again. Again, you are awesome. Let me just tell you, M. Rowe, shout out to M. Rowe. You are awesome, because she's the only one that wrote your she was awesome in the comments on a couple videos ago. But yeah, so she's awesome. So leave me a note, say another one, say you're awesome. Again, I'll put that call out there. Leave me a note if you watch that far that you're awesome, because you are. And I fully believe that this is just proof that if my mom can go to Israel and live there for 6 months and live her lifelong dream, then you can do anything. So let me know your hopes and dreams, and I would looking forward to connecting with you in the comments. And yeah, so thank you so much for watching, and as always, I hope you'll keep watching. Bye.